riot on Facebook and around the country.
One who refers to himself as Bin Laden, the Burmese proof of Bin Laden.
Well, that's right. That's right. That was in Time magazine a few years ago. That Wirathu, who is really a fountain of hate speech. And is allowed to operate in the country.
But he's celebrated by senior political figures. I mean, he is
absolutely
not only just tolerated.
He has huge support. And he's seen as the defender of Buddhism by a lot of people. But the things he says about Muslims and other religions are should truly be banned and
And they fly in the face of the fundamentals of Buddhism, which is supposed to be a religion.
Well, this is also hard to understand, that we kind of have an idea that Buddhism is the most peaceful, all-accepting religion out there, but I suppose we have to be honest about it, and all religions do say great things, and all of them can be used for the wrong reasons, and we know that. Then we have the army. The army have, at least by constitution, they have 25% of the parliament. To change the constitution, you need over 75% of the parliament. So we have an effective veto. They hold the most important institutions, the ministries of government. And under the constitution, they don't come under the legislature of the government, which is an unusual situation in a country to have that. So the question is Aung San Suu Kyi, does she need to work with the army? Is she being pragmatic? Or in fact, does she support the army and support its... And the more information that comes out, the more we'll be able to build a picture. But at the moment, I couldn't really say myself. I really don't know what her plan is, if she has a plan, whether she is a champion of human rights for everybody or believes that Buddhism is superior to the other groups. We don't know, but the question needs to be asked.
Now, her critics say that not only does she remain silent against these atrocities, she also defends her government's actions by referring to the Rohingyas as Bengalis and arguing that her government's response to the October 9th killings are based on the rule of law. Some have accused her of potentially legitimizing genocide. Do you think that's perhaps going too far?
I don't think it's going too far. I suppose it depends what we mean by legitimizing. But if you know that this situation is happening in your own country, you are the elected leader of the country, and you're not doing anything to stop it, and you're going further than that, you're denying that it's happening, you're denying anyone access to find out if it's happening, I think that is giving the green light to people on the ground that their behaviour is acceptable by the government and follows with the government's policy, and this is reinforced now by the army coming into Rakhine State, and for the first time we're seeing the violence led by the army itself. And Aung San Suu Kyi has said nothing about it. I mean, why wouldn't you at least let the Rohingya call themselves what they want to be called, or they say they want to be called? That's a fundamental international legal principle, that peoples have the right to self-identification. Never mind the legality of it, it's a moral principle.
Well, citizenship was removed, and that's another legal right, it's another human right.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned about the military getting involved. I want to just touch on this, because I've heard reports that it's not just covert. I mean, you've had helicopter gunships, and it's all been done under the sort of fog of trying to counter an increasing radicalisation amongst the Rohingya Muslims. And this sort of language echoes what we see in authoritarian states like Egypt and elsewhere, where there's this mass branding of huge communities as being terrorists. Is that what you see there?
That's what we're seeing. We're seeing a collective punishment directed as a group with these kind of the things we're kind of used to, these veiled rumours of terrorism, this idea that there is fundamentalist groups coming from all over the world and organising the Rohingya. There's no evidence of this. But I mean, if the situation continues as it is, it's going to become more desperate, and we're going to start seeing some desperate things coming out of the country, I think. But the question is, what are the army doing there now? Is this a retaliation for attack on checkpoint outposts and police stations? It's about 2 months ago now. about a month ago now. Or what is the army's objective? They have given us a denial, a bizarre denial, saying, no, we didn't use heavy weapons. We used medium machine guns on helicopters to clear villages.
Yes.
I mean, this is what they're telling
what
us.
constitute heavy weapons?
Well, this is it. I think they're talking artillery.
Yes.
And this is against defenseless civilians.
Yes.
And as Human Rights Watch have shown, the entire villages have been burnt down. And just imagine what it's like if you're in your village and a gunship starts coming through, firing up the whole place. What is the objective of this? The objective can only be to move the population somewhere or to convince them, to terrorize them into leaving the country altogether. And that's what we're seeing now. The internally displaced people in the last 2 months, we're looking at 30,000.
Now, talking about displaced people, why is it that the neighbouring country of Bangladesh is treating the Rohingyas also so crudely, refusing to register the hundreds of thousands, apparently, Rohingya refugees that are already sitting on their side of the border, and then repelling brutally those that are shooting to kill those that are trying to cross over?
So the Bangladeshi government... interesting situation for them, because the Burmese government, of course, say that the Rohingya are illegal Bengalis, which suggests they're from Bangladesh in the first place. The Bangladeshi government have up to 500,000 Rohingya in camps at the moment, a further 30,000 Rohingya unregistered, and the situation in life for an unregistered refugee is deplorable. And the Bangladesh government are now refusing entry on the border, which is against international law. If you have people fleeing from a country because they are being persecuted, you are obliged to let them in to assess their status at least. So this is illegal in the first place. As we said, there are 30,000 people have been internally displaced since the recent violence in Burma. So they have to find somewhere to go now. Do they get on boats? Do they make their way towards Bangladesh? The Bangladeshi government have effectively closed the border. As you say, there are reports of violence coming out. And they say simply, we just can't afford to have this many refugees inside our border. It is unfair to us that the Myanmar government are creating this problem and not helping with any of the solutions and are just leaving it to Bangladesh. And, I understand the pragmatics of how expensive this might be, but that's for the UN, that's for aid agencies and the international community to assist. It is not an excuse to blatantly breach international law when it comes to asylum seekers and refugees.
Let's just hope that we can continue to do at least something to bring this tragic and desperate episode to the public attention. Dr. MacManus, thank you so much for joining me on Islam Channel.
Thank you.